In a small American town, the kind of place where people still wave from porches and shopkeepers knew everyone by name, stood Raymond's Corner Store. It wasn't much, a single-story brick building with a flickering neon sign, but for decades it had been the heart of the community. Behind the counter worked Raymond Ellis, a 58-year-old widower with kind gray eyes and a slow, patient smile. He treated everyone like family, offering free coffee refills to regulars and the occasional grocery discount to struggling parents. One Friday night, just before closing, Raymond was restocking the counter when the bell above the door jingled. 3 teenagers walked in, laughing and shoving each other. One of them, Eddie Malone, a 19-year-old with an easy grin and restless energy, carried a small plastic toy gun in his hoodie pocket. The group had been watching prank videos all week, fake robberies, public scares, all for views and laughs. "Let's get him good," Eddie whispered to his friends, adrenaline tingling in his chest. Cameras rolled from their phones as he walked to the counter and, in mock seriousness, pointed the toy gun at Raymond. "Hands up! Empty the register, old man!" For a split second, Raymond froze, not because he believed it was a joke, but because his wife had been shot to death in a robbery 10 years ago. His body remembered the terror before his mind did. He dropped the jar he was holding, shattering glass across the floor. Then, instinct kicked in. He reached under the counter for the silent alarm and stepped back, trembling. The boys burst out laughing. "It's fake, man. It's just a joke," Eddie said, waving the plastic gun and showing it to him. But it was too late. Within minutes, sirens wailed outside. Officers burst in, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Eddie dropped to his knees, hands in the air, face pale. His friends bolted. That night, the prank became a felony. Welcome to Shadows of Justice, where crime meets compassion. If you are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. For returning viewers, thanks for sticking to the channel. The arrest report read, "Attempted armed robbery, weapon simulation, intent unclear." Eddie spent the night in a cold cell, his laughter long gone. The toy gun sat in an evidence bag, ridiculous and incriminating all at once. His mother, Karen Malone, arrived in tears the next morning, her face pale under the fluorescent lights of the precinct. "Eddie, what were you thinking?" she whispered, gripping the bars. "I wasn't," he muttered, voice small. "It was supposed to be funny." But the district attorney didn't laugh. Neither did Raymond. Raymond, after giving his statement, went home and sat in silence for hours. He replayed the moment again and again, the cold shock of fear, the way his wife's murder flashed behind his eyes. Yet, amid the anger and trembling, something else stirred. Pity. The boy had looked terrified, not cruel. Still, the town was divided. Some said Eddie got what he deserved. Others said Raymond should lighten up. It was a prank. Raymond didn't respond to any of it. He just kept opening the store every morning at 6 a.m. like always, but customers noticed his hands shook when he gave change. When the case went to court, Eddie's public defender painted him as a foolish teen, not a criminal. But the prosecution leaned on fear and consequence. "Mr. Ellis has suffered real trauma. This was no harmless joke. It was psychological violence." Raymond sat in the witness chair, fingers laced together. He spoke quietly. "I was scared. I thought it was happening all over again. I saw my wife dying in front of me." Eddie couldn't meet his eyes. The sentence came: 6 months in county jail, 2 years probation, and mandatory community service. It could have been worse, much worse. Raymond's written statement expressing that he didn't want the boy's life ruined had helped sway the judge. But forgiveness wasn't healing yet. Months later, as part of his service, Eddie was assigned janitorial duty at, of all places, Raymond's corner store. The probation officer had arranged it deliberately, thinking it poetic. When Eddie showed up, mop in hand and shame burning in his chest, Raymond just nodded once.
Clock in. Don't break anything. For the first few days, silence filled the aisles. Eddie scrubbed the floors and restocked shelves, while Raymond busied himself behind the counter. But over time, small exchanges began. You can stack those upside down, save space. Yes, sir. You like coffee? Yes, sir. By the third week, they were talking in full sentences. Eddie told him about how he'd dropped out of community college after losing his dad and falling into the wrong crowd. Raymond told him about the wife he'd lost and how forgiveness had kept him alive when anger wanted to bury him. "Son," Raymond said one afternoon, "you didn't just scare me. You made me remember something I've been trying to forget. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe I needed to face it." Eddie swallowed hard, eyes down. "I don't expect you to forgive me." Raymond sighed, his gaze gentle. "Then don't expect. Earn it." Late one evening, during a thunderstorm, Raymond slipped on the wet floor while closing up. He fell hard, hitting his head against the counter edge. Eddie, finishing his cleaning shift, found him moments later, unconscious and bleeding. Without hesitation, he called 911 and pressed a towel against the wound. "Hang on, Mr. Ellis, please," he said, voice shaking. At the hospital, doctors said Raymond would be fine, a mild concussion, a few stitches. But the next day, Raymond's sister arrived. She had power of attorney and wanted to sell the store while he recovered. "He's too old to keep doing this," she said. "He needs rest." Eddie overheard. Something inside him twisted. He spent the night cleaning the store alone, polishing every shelf, fixing the old doorbell, replacing the broken neon bulb out front. When Raymond returned days later, cane in hand, he found the store spotless and shining. Eddie stood behind the counter. "Just keeping it ready for you, sir," he said. Raymond's eyes filled with tears. "Looks like you already earned it." Months passed. Eddie completed his sentence, but he didn't leave. Raymond offered him a job, not charity, but trust. They became an unlikely pair, the boy who once terrified the store's owner and the man who chose to see good in him anyway. Customers noticed. The laughter returned to Raymond's corner store, the tension gone. They joked about prices, not crimes. One afternoon, a group of teens came in recording a challenge. Eddie stepped forward, calm but firm. "Not here. Take it outside." They laughed until they saw his eyes. They put their phones away. Raymond smiled faintly. "You've grown, Eddie." Eddie nodded. "I learned from the best." A year later, the local paper ran a headline, "Former prankster and store owner build unlikely friendship." The story went viral. A reporter asked Raymond why he forgave so easily. "Because the world's full of people waiting to be better, but they can't be unless someone lets them." Eddie, now 21, stood beside him, holding a certificate of community leadership. He'd started visiting high schools, warning students about harmless jokes that can ruin lives. People think redemption is something you find. It's not. It's something someone gives you, and you have to prove you deserved it all along. That night, Raymond locked up the store for the last time. Retirement had finally come. As he flipped the switch, the new neon sign installed by Eddie flickered to life. It read, "Ellis and Malone's, a place for second chances." Eddie stood beside him under the warm glow. "You sure you want to keep my name up there?" Raymond smiled. "You earned that too." The bell above the door jingled softly as they stepped outside, the laughter of two generations fading into the evening air. And for once, the joke had truly turned into something serious, something sacred, because forgiveness, in the end, was the only thing that wasn't funny at all. This is Shadows of Justice, where crime meets compassion. Subscribe for more emotional true crime and redemption storytelling, where every scar tells a story worth hearing.